Welcome back to Q Dads, guys, and yes, it's me, Ben, here today with another Q Dads Expanded. Grab yourself a drink and just listen to me have a little bit of a rant and a little bit of a moan about one of the crazy theories going around at the moment, that Helena is pregnant from Mark. Now, straight from the offset, I just don't agree with this theory at all. I think it makes no sense. I think it's a bit of a wasted storyline, and I think if the writers do go down that kind of path, even if it's at the end of this season or in season 3, I think it's a bit of just a cop out, and I think that they could have better storylines than Helena getting pregnant from Mark. It makes no sense to me. But of course, I can already hear you screaming at the screen, so let me just give you a little points and a little things on why I think that it's not. So obviously this all stems back first to not episode 5, but episode 4, where we saw the retreat and where Mark and Helena were in a tent. And one thing led to another, with the shifty eyes of Milchek just closely watching by. And yes, after that one scene, everyone jumped on Reddit, jumped on all the YouTube channels and started saying that Helena is pregnant. Now, yes, there's been a lot of hints towards babies, and we touched on this in the intro of Severance ourselves. And there is actually an image that's circulating now for one of the future episodes where, and spoiler ahead, Mark is essentially in a bar and Helena is in the background, and they're saying that this is them meeting up to talk about the pregnancy because the name of the restaurant that they're in essentially translates to father or dad. Now, for me, I think that's just a bit of maybe a red herring. I don't think that actually that is going to happen. I think probably Helena is there in that photo because she's watching over Mark and keeping an eye on him. And if we actually cast our mind back as well to the very first episode of season 1, because Mark has actually bumped into Helena already as an outie. Because after his first day within Lumin and he exits the car park to find that little note where he's bumped his head, we actually then get him in the car and he almost crashes into Helena. Now, she's, yes, carrying some white roses, which a lot of people are kind of saying that symbolises Gemma with her white roses, and it was a ploy on Helena to try and, spark something in the mind. But actually, I don't think it was. I think that in that moment, he didn't recognise Helena as the face of Lumin. So when he sees her in the bar, he's not going to know. He's just going to think that that's just someone else having a bit of a drink. Now, whether they have a conversation afterwards is a different story. I don't know. Maybe she's keeping tabs. Maybe she's going to approach him and, she's tried to seduce the Mark's innie and now she's going to go for Mark's outie. Who really knows? But I think the fact that people are now speculating after one night that she's pregnant is just ridiculous. Now, we have to ask ourselves, of course, what does Helena actually gain from that? Let's say for a second that her plan was to infiltrate the innies and especially Mark, and her plan overall was to get pregnant by him. One, she's got to take into consideration that there could only have ever been one time. If Irvin had never outed her to actually be Helena rather than Helly, then maybe they would have had multiple chances at conceiving. But ultimately, she's got to have hoped and had her fingers crossed for that one time shot. And actually, and just thinking about that for just one moment, that's quite a very hard thing to do. Yes, it's quite a common thing, but actually, just putting all your eggs in one little basket is quite a challenge itself. But then two, why Mark's child? Why can she not just go to any of the innies? I mean, Dylan probably would have been a little bit more accepting of it, but she didn't. She chose Mark. Now, why? Was that because of the previous relationship with Helly and Mark, and potentially that Helena found it a bit more of an easy target? But again, what is she gaining from this? Bringing a baby into the world, especially as an Egan, why? It makes more sense to, have an actual relationship with someone and then bring a baby into the world that way, rather than kind of sneaking it and going behind everyone's back to do so. It just doesn't make sense. And then, of course, it potentially could ruin that relationship that she has with the father, and even the possibility of running the company one day. And no, not because she's having a baby, but because she's actually gone for Mark's innie and had a baby that way. Which is why I don't think she would risk her career and her future on that one experience. I think if she was going to have a baby, she would just go the normal route about it and, relationship, baby, etc. Or, on the flip side, we could say, yeah, do you know what? She is planning to have a baby, and that first initial scene in episode 1 mirrors how kind of his relationship blossomed and began with Gemma. And actually, it's all been a bit of a long con to recreate that memory, and it's all forming part of Project Cold Harbour. I mean, who really knows? But for me, there's just a lot of things that just stick out to say, this is a red herring. I honestly don't think. I got that gut feeling, and you know what? I could be wrong. So let me know in the comments if I am, and let's have that debate, because, yeah, you could say that that was part of a plan and she's got some ulterior motive, but what is that motive? Like, really, hit me up in the comments, because I genuinely don't know what it could be if her plan was to get pregnant. I just think it's a bit of a throwaway. I think, yeah, it's something that could be plausible, but I don't think that's something that they're going to go on. I think that's getting our brains thinking. It's keeping us invested until they do a bit of a big reveal at the end where, Mark hits full integration, or we see the return of someone like PT or even like Gemma coming back into the equation. Now, again, this is just my opinion, so please let me know in the comments. Let's have a bit of a debate. Do you think that Helena is pregnant with Mark? And if so, why? Don't just hit me with a yes. Hit me with the reasons. Why do you think? Like, seriously, what does Helena benefit from all of this? Right, as always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time with something new.